Hello and welcome to this tutorial entitled Let's Build an E-commerce Store with a Spring Boot Backend. Episode 1 is on getting started. Before we start this tutorial, there's a few things I recommend you have a basic foundation knowledge of so that you don't get lost along the way. Firstly, you need a basic knowledge of Java, specifically things like classes, inheritance of classes, and object-oriented programming. Secondly, you will need to have an understanding of dependency injection libraries such as Spring, preferably Spring since that's what we're working with. Basic concepts of programming and HTTP communication will definitely be helpful since you're going to need to have an understanding of what a REST API is, how we're going to communicate with it, and what the purpose of doing this is. We also are going to need a basic understanding of database design, as fundamentally we're going to have a base database on the back end of this, and having the understanding of how to design a database will help us greatly. So what are we building? The initial requirements. A friend has come to us with the intention of starting himself in the world of business. He wants to sell products online and have an inventory management system in a single solution. You suggest an existing third-party application, but he wants something more bespoke. So he's come to his rockstar developer pal, that's you. The website will have users who can buy an array of products in different quantities. It will hold the inventory of stock and allow users to make orders to ship their address. When building requirements for an application, it's always best to think about how they affect the design and the architecture of your application. Now, the best thing that I tend to do is focus on what are our data elements and then work backwards from there, because once you know what the data is that you're storing, you can now work out how the data gets retrieved, how it gets manipulated, and how it gets presented. So as we read through the second paragraph, the website will have users. The users are going to require things like a username, a password, an email address, their personal information. We're going to need to be able to store those so that they can authenticate with the application and make their orders. These users will need to are going to be able to buy an array of products, and the products are what we're selling. You're going to need a name for a product, a description of what it is, a value of the product. Maybe you'll have some images to go along with the product. We'll also have inventory, how many products we hold in stock. Do we have 5 apples or 10 apples? And along with that inventory, it's going to help us to know how much we can sell to the user. And this inventory and stock, we're going to allow users to make orders with it and ship to their address. We're going to need to have a repository of orders, so what people are buying. We're going to have a repository of addresses and what user is, what address, what order the address was sent to. What address the order was sent to, and all of this kind of contains personal information. So when it comes to implementation, things like GDPR and other data security considerations have to be made, but they're more down the line with your company to decide what happens. So let's get to the techie bit. What does a tech stack look like? A tech stack usually and typically describes what elements we're going to use to build the application, what frameworks, what languages, stuff like that. We're going to go very high level, and we're just going to talk about frameworks in this. So when users are going to go and purchase from our store, we need a website. So that's our front end. Now, I would recommend using AngularJS for this. It's a pretty good foundation to work on, very good framework. However, in this tutorial, we're not going to be touching on that specifically. We may implement a new tutorial later on the series to cover the implementation of the front end, or we may even extend the end of this tutorial to go over that. But the fundamental basic of this tutorial is going to be on our back end. Speaking of which, the back end, the API server. We're going to be using Spring, specifically Spring Boot for this, which allows us to cut out a lot of the boilerplate code so that you don't have to write it. And it just makes everything a lot simpler, because a lot of the things you're going to implement are already implemented thanks to Spring Boot and Spring. Finally, we're going to need a database. The database will be SQL Server for this tutorial. However, because we're using Spring and Hibernate, it can be any backend that Hibernate supports, which is a massive array, so please do go and look and use a database engine that fits your needs better. If you're using something like Azure to host your application, SQL Server is probably good for you, because you may notice that the Azure SQL Server serverless infrastructure is cheaper and it works better for Azure. But other cloud providers or hosting companies may provide cheaper alternatives or better alternatives depending on what your use case is. But we're going to go with SQL Server for our database engine. So now we have an idea of what it is we're creating and what we're going to use to create it. Now let's go and get into it. Okay, and welcome to our development box. This is where we're going to be doing our coding. So to start off, we need to go over the basics of our applications we're using. I'm going to be using an application called IntelliJ to be my IDE. You can find IntelliJ just by googling IntelliJ and going to the first link here. This is an IDE developed by JetBrains. You may prefer to use other applications like NetBeans or like Eclipse. However, this is the one I'm using for the tutorial. They have a community edition which is completely free that you'll be able to use for the tutorial, but they do have a paid version if you're going to use it in a commercial environment. A second application we're going to be using is called Postman. As you can do Postman in Google and specifically type in Postman download. You can go to the postman.com downloads page that's here, and you can download this. Going to the download page means that you don't actually have to download, sign up and create an account. It's optional, but Postman is a powerful little tool that we can query our API for different bits and pieces without having to actually make a front-end application to retrieve the data and do something with it. We can just query the data and get it straight to us. We can see what's happening. So those are the two applications that we're going to be using right off the bat. Later on, we will add other applications like our SQL Server instance. So let's generate our code. When it comes to Spring Boot, it allows us to generate a pre-made package for us, ready for us to go with. So you can go to start.spring.io and it gives us this lovely screen. Now, what this allows us to do is to configure our application and build the basic blocks for us to start with, specifically the Maven POM, so that we don't have to spend lots of time doing it. So in this project we're going to be using Maven and we're going to be using Java. Now when it comes to Spring Boot version, as of the time of recording, Spring Boot 3.0.0 release candidate 1, RC1, has just been released. That means that it's just around the corner for the full version to be released. So for this tutorial we're going to be covering Spring Boot 3. Going forward, any releases out of 3, the process of what we're doing should be more or less the exact same. If you go down to 2 though, you'll see different implementations, and you may have to encounter problems where you have to Google to figure out what the differences between 2 and 3 are, so you can work backwards. Next, let's select our dependencies. These are what allows us to do the building blocks part of Spring Boot. So we want a REST API, so that means that we need Spring Web. So you can search for REST and Spring Web will come up. Build web including RESTful applications using Spring Boot MVC or Spring MVC. Select that, and then that's it. So all we need to do a very basic application just to get the REST up is that. So, but let's add some extra ones anyway. So another one is called Actuator. A Spring Boot Actuator, what it does is it allows us to get some metrics out of the application while it's running, which just helps us with some debugging and some IDE helpfulness. And the other one is called DevTools. Again, just add some extra bits and pieces to help make our lives a bit easier. So let's make our project metadata. So let's call our group com.youtube tutorial. I'm going to give it artifact of e-commerce backend, and the name we can leave as e-commerce backend, and this is going to be our REST API backend for the e-commerce solution. And as you can see, the package name has been built from the group and the artifact. Again, these are all Maven things, so hopefully you're already familiar. Packaging, we're going to go with a jar, so that's if you wanted to deploy it just by a normal Java application, but you can deploy a war if you want to deploy to an existing Tomcat or other app hosting solution. The Java version at time of recording, the current long-term support LTS version of Java is 17, so that's what we're going to select. However, in the future it may change, so be sure to pick what best is for you. Are you going to develop for the next version of LTS, so the development version, which would be 19 in my case, or are you going to stick to the current LTS and upgrade when you need to? So now we've built our building blocks of the application, we can now come down here to generate, and that's going to give us this e-commerce backend zip. Great, that's awesome, that's exactly what we need. So let's open that up, and I've got a workspace folder here in my documents area, so I'm just going to extract that into here. So now I have an e-commerce backend folder, and if we come in here you can see I've got all my bits and pieces that I need. My POM XML, my the Maven building tool that they ship with it, so you don't have to install it manually, and my source directory with all the code. So let's go into IntelliJ, and as that loads it's going to give us our little welcome window here, and we want to open up the workspace. So workspace, springboot-bakend, oh sorry, e-commerce backend, and that's the one we want to select. So let's hit OK on that, and we're going to trust the project, and it's going to load up and read our source code that was generated for us by the Spring website. So as you can see, we're now resolving the dependencies, we're downloading all our bits and pieces we need, and under source, main, Java, you can see this is our application. The resources, you can see we've got application.properties. We can delete these two folders, the static and the templates, because those folders are to do with if you want to serve the website directly from Spring, but we're not doing that, we're just building REST API. Seems my IntelliJ's had a little bit of a freak out. Maven build script found. Yes, I want to load that project, thank you. And as you can see, I've still got all my bits and pieces from before. I'll delete those two folders, like I said, the static and the templates. We've got an initial test class as well. So now all we've got to do is in here, you can see we've got e-commerce backend as a run configuration, points to our main class as well. So we can just hit start, and down here at the bottom you can see it's building the application, and Spring, that's our nice big logo we like to see because it started, and as you can see here, started e-commerce application. And as you can see, Tomcat initialized with port 8080. So now that means we've already done it. We've got a Spring Boot application running on our environment. That's brilliant. So let's stop this application for a moment and let's put in a quick test to make sure it's working. So we do a new Java class, we do test controller, and we're going to annotate that with @REST-controller, and we're going to drop down a few lines, and we're going to do @getMapping, and we're going to call this /test. We're going to create a public string test method that returns the string test, just like that. And that's all we need. So what this is going to do is we're going to have it, we're saying that this is a controller that's for our REST API. So there's stuff in here that Spring needs to listen to. We're saying that this is a get mapping. So if they use the HTTP get method on this mapping /test, run this code for us. We're going to return a string to the front end, also the REST API end, and this is the code that we're executing, and we're sending back the string test. So let's start this up again. And as we see, it's building and it starts the application. And if you're using IntelliJ, you have this actuator tab here, which is really helpful because you can click on it and go into mappings, and oh no, failed to retrieve mappings endpoint data. Well, this is a thing that's been introduced recently as part of Spring Boot. Spring Boot 3, or the underlying Spring framework for Spring Boot 3, has changed it so that by default it doesn't expose all of the mapping stuff. So what we actually need to do is we need to go to management dot, and then this is where my memory is tested. You can see we go endpoint dot, which one is it? JMX dot exposure include this. Here we go. And we're going to do star. So this is saying in the management world and endpoints, there's the JMX side, which is what this runs off on the bottom here. Exposed everything. So if we rerun this again, stop and return, we're going to tell that to not show us again. As the application starts up, completed initialization, perfect. Let's go into actuator, and if we go into mappings, we get a list of all our mappings. So this is a really helpful feature that IntelliJ provides. And as you can see, /test is a get method, and it tells us which method's calling it. We can double click it to go straight to it. That's really helpful. So let's open up Postman, which is the application I mentioned earlier, and we're going to go into Postman, and we're going to go new HTTP request. We're going to go HTTP semicolon, colon even, / localhost colon port 8080, which is the one we saw in the log there, /test. And we see we're using the get method, so let's hit send. And as you can see, status 200, meaning it's all okay. We got the response and it's okay. And you can see here, it's returned the word test, which is what we've put here. That's brilliant. So now, as of this episode, what have we achieved? We've got our initial code, Maven code, and our initial code for Java to start the Spring Boot application. We've created a test controller so that we can just double check that it's receiving the code and we can see it on the front end. We've got a Postman get request here to be able to prove that it works, and we've also exposed the mappings actuator functionality inside the Spring Boot to be able to see it inside of our IDE. So that's what we covered today in this episode. In the next episode, I think we're going to start focusing on the data side of it, creating our data objects. Thank you very much for watching the video. The next episode will be linked in the description when it's released. You'll also be able to find a playlist on my channel that will go through the entire series as one set of videos. Thank you, and see you in the next episode.